Is this it for Lewis Hamilton? Lewis Hamilton is having a rough start to the 2022 season. He is facing many difficulties regarding the 2022 F1 car that's at his disposal and is underperforming compared to his teammate George Russell. Moreover, he hasn't managed to win a race so far in the season, and it's not a surprise considering the fact that Mercedes is really struggling with the porpoising effect, a new phenomenon from the 2022 regulations that we'll explain later in the video. Although it's still early, Hamilton's performance on Saturday and Sunday are quite concerning for a seven-time world champion. The highest grid position he's managed to finish on Sunday is P3, but that was due to lots of DNF from Ferrari and Red Bull. Overall, he hasn't managed to deliver in a car that is facing lots of controversies due to its design. After some miserable finishes at P10 in Jeddah, after failing to qualify in Q2, and in Imola, P14 after failing to pass the AlphaTauri of Gasly, rumours about his possible early retirement have emerged. So is there a real chance that the Brit calls it quits and decides that enough is enough? Stick with us until the end of the video as we'll explain why Hamilton might consider retirement and what's next for him. Lewis Hamilton is an exceptional F1 driver that managed to win a championship in his rookie season in 2008. Moreover, he managed to do it in a car that was inferior compared to Ferrari and against a proven F1 champion in Alonso. He has received his first title in a very specific manner, as he managed to pass Timo Glock after the German driver has spun in the rain in Interlagos at the last lap at one of the last corners. The 2008 championship battle between him and Massa has been crowned as one of the most intense ones, with Hamilton being able to prevail on top. However, 2009 was the season to forget for the Brit, as he didn't manage to win a single race, and McLaren was struggling a lot throughout the whole season. He decided to join Mercedes in 2012, and with the new regulations of the turbo hybrid era, Mercedes have been on top of its game for the majority of the seasons. Hamilton has won 6 championships with Mercedes, only losing one in 2016 to his teammate Nico Rosberg in a very close racing battle. The German has prevailed and surprised everybody when he announced his retirement after winning his maiden championship. After then, Hamilton didn't have problems with concurrency from his own team, as Bottas was the obeying one. But George overperforming Hamilton, a situation that the 7-time world champion isn't really used to, is just one of the reasons that he might consider retirement. Everybody thought that the young Brit would learn from the older, more experienced one in the first season. After all, he comes from Williams, a team that really struggled in the previous seasons when it comes to scoring points. Russell has managed to win some for the team, but he decided that it's time for him to move to a bigger stage, more precisely in Mercedes. F1 fans were going to the extent of calling him the next Bottas, and that the most frequent thing he'd hear on his radio would be, "George, this is James," referring to the infamous "Valtteri, it's James," when Bottas was about to receive a team order to let Hamilton by. That turned out horribly wrong with the 2022 car. One of the facts why Russell seems to outperform Hamilton is that he has been driving in a much inferior car for his whole career, the Williams. Hamilton didn't have a bad car since 2009, the infamous season in which he hasn't won a race, a record that is threatening to be repeated in the 2022 season. However, Mercedes isn't a bad car at all. After all, they are P3 in the Constructors' Championship and are constantly in the top 5 with George Russell. Plus, their car seems like the most reliable one on the grid, as they managed to finish with both their cars at every race so far. So why should Hamilton consider retirement with a car that is reliable and can cross the checkered flag in every race? Well, one thing that could serve as motivation is the reason that he came back this season. After the controversial end of the 2021 season and the mess that Michael Masi has made on the last lap at the last lap, Hamilton has pulled back from social media. Apart from that, Toto Wolff was always mentioning that there is a huge possibility that Hamilton won't come back to race in 2022. Apart from Wolff, other experts shared his opinion too. But after a few quiet months, Hamilton has shared a picture of himself at the Grand Canyon with the caption, "I'm back." The Brit wants to be implemented as the most successful F1 driver of all time, surpassing Michael Schumacher with 8 world championships. But little did he know that Mercedes would suffer problems like this one, and his shot at the title would take a huge blow at the early stages of the season. Porpoising has become the newest problem from the 2022 regulations. Now that cars are narrower and weigh more, porpoising happens as a result of the car gaining and then losing a massive amount of downforce. This causes the air pressure below the car to be lowered, air stalls below the floor and the surface, and the cars are seen bouncing on the main straight zones of the track. Other F1 cars are experiencing porpoising too, such as Ferrari, but their results differ from Mercedes by a large margin. So it seems like Mercedes porpoising is a much more serious problem and possibly triggered by different factors than Ferrari. Stuff has gone to the extent of drivers complaining to FIA as they expressed major concerns regarding the long-term health of their drivers. Just when the Baku GP finished, Hamilton was seen crawling out of his car as he complained of back injuries throughout the whole weekend. Even Toto Wolff publicly said that Hamilton may miss the Montreal GP, which is just 7 days apart from the Baku GP. Hamilton has tweeted that he plans on driving in Montreal as he visited acupuncture therapy and is rehabilitating well from the back soreness. But why isn't George complaining of porpoising that much after Baku? Yes, he was vocal about the problem, but he didn't seem to have such extreme pains after the GP. Even Alonso, who is the oldest and most experienced driver on the grid, didn't want to attend the protest against the FIA rules, and the drivers asked for the federation to lift some of the rules to ease the porpoising problem. However, one of the strongest reasons why Hamilton would want to retire is because of the Mercedes performance in Miami. They finished P5 and P6, but when asked if he thinks that the team has improved anything, he firmly said, "Unfortunately, no, I don't." Hamilton has had 2 very disappointing weekends in Jeddah, the track which he absolutely owned last year, and Emilia-Romagna GP. What's common between these 2 races? They are both very fast, and straight-line speed is the main enemy for Mercedes this year due to the porpoising problem. So Hamilton is really having difficulties in shooting for the 8th championship. It's very unlikely that the Mercedes driver will be in the mix for the title due to the problems of his team. He had a different opinion from George Russell, his teammate, regarding the design of the car. Hamilton was a bit reluctant, to say the least, about the no-pod side pod design of the W13. On the other hand, Russell believed in the engineers and the design of the car and said that there is something else that needs to unlock the potential of the 2022 car, and it's not the side pods design. Hamilton called on a more traditional design coming back for Mercedes, as he believes that would bring him back to fight for championships. Why is this important for him? Because Mercedes currently has George on P4, 19 points behind Leclerc, and being the only driver not only to finish in the points, but to finish in the top 5 too. So, apart from what Hamilton thinks, it's most likely that Mercedes will follow George's opinion on the car design, as he is the one managing to absolute outperform the car he's driving. This brings us to another reason why Hamilton would consider retirement. He has never been treated as a number 2 driver on his team. As we mentioned earlier in the video, even when he was a rookie, he managed to outperform a 2-time world champion in Alonso. He only lost once to a teammate, which is Rosberg in 2016. Much of the time, Hamilton was the dominant one on his team, and his teammates, mostly Bottas, were asked to just move out of the way and hold the rivals for pit stop strategies. And everybody naturally thought that this would be the story for 2022. However, Russell has managed to place himself as the number 1 driver in the team early in the season. The younger Brit, however, believes that Hamilton will be back stronger than ever when the team learns how to make their car better. But even if he starts performing well, Russell is already a beast with a car that has problems. What are the chances that he'll give up on a season that will most likely be the best one that he could imagine as a debut? At last, Hamilton is 36 years old and has hinted several times that he would like to do other things rather than race in F1, so his days in the sport may be numbered. He doesn't have anything to feel sad for, because he would leave the team in the hands of George Russell, a youngster who is a brilliant racer and another young driver who would sit in his place, possibly Ocon or Gasly. So, what are your thoughts regarding Lewis Hamilton and his retirement? Do you think that the 7-time world champion needs to call it quits because of the low chances that he'll have a shot at the title? Or do you believe that he should stay a couple of more seasons and wait until Mercedes fixes their car and provides him decent machinery for battle? The season is far from over, and we'd like to hear your opinion.